Hello, I'm Mary Landrieu, and I'd like to welcome you to the second installment of Mary's Mail. I received so many letters and emails from people from not just Louisiana, but around the country, and I'm going to take this opportunity to try to answer a few of the questions that came in last week. First of all, we had a very busy week last week in the United States Senate. We confirmed the fourth female Supreme Court justice in the history of our country, Elena Kagan. We approved $375 million to help the state's Medicaid shortfalls, sent some additional funding for education, and it came very close to passing a small business bill focused on Main Street to help jumpstart our economy and create jobs, not just at home, but around the country. So we had lots of questions. The first one comes from Lafayette. From Daly, who writes he's concerned about securing funds for her startup business. She writes, "We're developing an employment initiative for persons with mental health needs. How would you suggest going about securing funds for startup operations?" Well, first of all, there are some foundations in your area. The Acadiana Foundation, for one, who may be giving out grants, etc. Secondly, you could talk to one of the other charities or go to one of your local banks. In fact, that's what I've spent a great deal of my time on in the last month, getting Congress to support the small business lending bill. It includes $30 billion for a lending facility that will actually leverage up to $300 billion for small businesses through partnerships with healthy community banks. This lending facility helps to gain the necessary capital to start up your new operation if it's a for-profit operation and you can prove you can pay the money back. Go to a healthy bank somewhere in your area and ask them to be ready to lend when this fund goes through. Also, the Small Business Administration has some microloan programs lending money to new upstarts like yours up to $50,000. So these are just a couple of ideas and hope that will help. The next letter we received is from Eileen from Sulphur, Louisiana. Eileen wrote to me concerning compensation for Louisiana from British Petroleum. She writes, "Let's assume you can get Louisiana the offshore money we've deserved for 50 years. Can you also legislatively require a profit-sharing agreement between BP and the people and agencies directly damaged?" It's a very good question, and this is something I'm going to be very focused on in September. First of all, we're going to do everything we can to accelerate revenue sharing. Gulf Coast states, particularly Louisiana and Texas and Mississippi and Alabama, have been grossly shortchanged because of the failure of the federal government to share revenues from offshore oil and gas production. The federal government collects about $5 to $8 billion a year in taxes right off of our shore. And although it shares revenue with interior states, it is not with coastal. So we are going to push that issue and get some of that money. In addition, BP has to pay a penalty for every barrel of oil they spilled into the Gulf. We haven't an absolute assessment made yet of how many barrels that is, but it's going to be significant. We think that the penalties could range anywhere from $4 billion to $10 billion and perhaps more than that. And Louisiana, in my view, and the Gulf Coast deserve at least 80% of that penalty money to be spent in our Gulf Coast states, restoring our coast, making people whole, supporting our communities, and that's what I'm going to work on. Lastly, we have a question from William in Baton Rouge. William wrote to ask me about my reasons for supporting Elena Kagan for the Supreme Court. And I thank you, William. It is a very important vote that we cast in the Senate when we send people, citizens, to the Supreme Court. And I was proud to cast my vote for Elena Kagan for any number of reasons. One, she has an extraordinary resume. First dean of the Harvard Law School. She has written any number of outstanding briefs and papers on all aspects of the law. I think what stands out among her writings and her decisions is her ability to move both the left and the right together, her strong intellect, and that's what we need on the court right now. We know we have a divided court. We have some very conservative members, we have some very liberal members, and I think the President appointed her to try to find some middle ground to give a path forward on so many of the important issues before our country today. She was endorsed by the National District Attorneys Association, to name a few, and so many other national organizations. She's only the fourth woman appointed to the court, which also has a great bearing for me. There have been, I think, 121 members have served on the court, and yet only 4 women. And 4 or 5 Republicans joined the Democrats, signifying a bipartisan support. So her strong intellect, her understanding of the importance but limited role of the court, I believe, is one reason, or several reasons, why I supported her. So I thank you so much for those questions and look forward to answering more next week. Again, welcome to Mary's Mail. Please feel free to write. Your letters mean a great deal to us, and we hope that we're being responsive to your inquiries and to your comments and suggestions. Thank you so much.